Welcome to Shiloh Farm. You come on in here and settle down. I know you've got a lot going on. I know it's Friday, TGIF. Woo, thank God it is Friday and it's Memorial Weekend. And so we've got a lot to do this weekend. I know you're probably going to have some chores and man, try to throw some fun in there. Go out and do something with your family, do something with your friends. Enjoy yourself. You know what? Life is too short. I am so conscious of my to-do list every day, but I do have to tell you that I need to throw in something that makes me laugh, something that gives me a good time, that I feel good about. Not that I've accomplished all my chores, not because I've done everything I had to do on my 21 things to do today, but it's because I have took time to enjoy life. You know, there was a cliche that always was out there, take time to smell the roses. That's the truth. Take time to smell the roses. Because if you ever find yourself in any other place, maybe with your health or maybe in a divorce or maybe in a financial crunch, you will find that you need to stop and take time to smell the roses. Look, I want to say something this morning. I was thinking about, God don't tell me everything. Now, when he needs to tell me something, when he needs to tell you something, he will. Because the word says in one of the minor prophets in the Old Testament, he says, God will do nothing unless he tells his secrets to his servants, his prophets. He will not do nothing. He'll put a little nudging inside you. He'll put a little thought in your head, and he'll prepare you for what's to come. And he always does. Well, let me tell you, Jesus said to his disciples, I no longer call you servants because I tell you what to do here and there. I call you friends. And so a friend will tell you some things, some good things about you, some good things that's going to help you. The friend will be there to assist you in life, to love you and encourage you and to push you forward. And I thank you because, man, I've got friends here on this Facebook that loves me, pushes me every day, encourages me and makes me go forward. When I want to sit there and say, hey, I'm tired of this, then you change my mind because you say something kind to me. But if God told me everything, guess what? I probably wouldn't have done it. If God had told me that I'd have gone through this years ago, that years ago, this last year, if he'd have told me things that was going to happen to me, do you know what? I probably would have said, no, I quit and walk off in the sunset. But that's why sometimes he don't tell us. I'm giving you an example of that. The children of Israel, when they told them spies to go in and try to look out and scope out the promised land, you can go in, and he says, and take it. You can go in and take it. Well, the 10 spies went in there, and they didn't know that when God says you can go in and take the land, there's grapes and there's milk and there's honey flowing, and I mean luscious fruit. The land is yours. He didn't tell them there was going to be giants. He didn't tell them that. If he'd have told them in the beginning, go in, there's big giants standing at the door, they would have never entered in that door. Never. If God was to tell you something was going to happen and you're going to walk through a hard place, you'd say, God, not today. Not today. And that's where you get your strength. That's where you get your abilities, your faith builder. That's where you get strong in God. And you would have turned that down. And listen, the giants didn't do anything to them. And they turned around and said, no, we're not going to do this. We're not going to go in this land. And Joshua and Caleb said, we can go in and take it, even though there's giants. But the people were running in fear. They bailed out. They walked out. And they said, we're grasshoppers and they are giants. Listen, who called them a grasshopper? The giants didn't call him a grasshopper. Joshua and Caleb didn't call him a grasshopper. They called themselves a grasshopper. The enemy allowed them to and pushed them to label themselves, and they would not go in and possess the land because they were scared of the giants, and the giants didn't do anything to them. They didn't even say, "Get off our property, grasshoppers." They didn't do anything. The people did. The people that ran in fear labeled themselves. And they walked out on the promised land. They walked out on what was theirs. What is the devil labeling you with? What is he saying about you? What is he accusing you of? What is Satan right now saying what you can do, what you can't do? You're listening to the wrong voice. You need to listen to God's voice. What is God saying to you? And sometimes he don't tell you the whole story. He don't tell you the beginning and the end. And the reason is because you wouldn't do it. But you need to obey the voice of God. What is he saying for you to do today? What is he telling you not to do today? Hey, this is just a nugget. It's not going to cost you anything extra. Let's go into the Word of God. I want us to go to Psalm 105. And we finished up the other day when, and we know that David wrote these Psalms. And it says that the last thing we read, because I want to tell you where we left off, was in verse 11, 105 verse 11, the New Living Translation. He says, "I will give you the land of Canaan as your special possession." And so isn't that strange? We finish off with that, and I'm starting off with it this morning. Don't be a grasshopper. Go in and take the land. And in verse 12, he said this when they were few in number. Israel wasn't popular. They weren't great in number as other nations was, but they were God's people. They were chosen by God, and God chose them, and he took care of them. And he says, in a tiny group of strangers in Canaan, you weren't popular. Nobody knew you except that you were out there telling everybody that God was shining a light for you at night and the sun during the day so you could see. And he was providing, and he was bringing water out of the rock. And there you were 40 years in the wilderness. You didn't have to get a new pair of shoes, a new pair of clothes. Man, people thought you were strange. We're considered to be strange if we're living right. If we're walking in the Lord and we're walking in his faith and word, we're considered to be strange. We should be, because this isn't our place. This isn't our home. We're just wandering through like Israel was. And it says they wandered from nation to nation, from one kingdom to another. And yet, now get that, there's always a yet. Yet he did not let anyone oppress them. He warned the kings on their behalf, "Do not touch my chosen people and do not hurt my prophets." I want to tell you something. When you're out there, you think you're all alone. You think that, you're up for grabs and people can do anything they want to and say anything they want to. Hey, God is in control of you. He is over you. He is guiding and protecting you. He is protecting you from those people who want to attack you, those people who set up traps for you. For the enemy comes in like a flood. God will lift up a standard against them. And so you are protected by God 24/7. He says, you better not touch my people. You better not do my prophets no harm. Because when they attack you, guess what? God stands strong and goes to battle for you. And so in verse 16, it says, he called for a famine on the land of Canaan, cutting off its food supply. God allowed a famine. For what? Because a long time ago, he gave a word to a young guy, Joseph. And he says, you're going to be ruler over a lot of people. You'll be even ruler over your household. That's what got him in trouble, because Joseph had a dream. And he saw that he was over all the people, over his family, and his brothers didn't like that. And so let's continue to read on and find out what happens in this. It says, then he sent one to Egypt ahead of them, Joseph, who was sold as a slave. Now, God, you told Joseph that he was going to be somebody. He was going to be over his family, over the time of famine, that he would be rulership leader. And what? He was sold as a slave because of being jealousy among the brothers. And you know what? Sometimes God will give us a word or promise and we say, okay, we're going to go in. We're going to walk in it. And it's delayed. Something happens. And we're like, what in the world is going on? And listen, we sit there and we try to figure it out and try to make sense of it. And why were we sold into slavery? I want to share something with you. And I may have to read this because I wrote this down and I want to make sure you get everybody and get everything involved in it. Joseph had a word from God and he found himself in slavery. He found himself in a pit. He found himself sold out. And I want to finish to read this word to you first so I can read what I wrote down. It says, they bruised his feet with fetters and placed his neck in an iron collar until the time came to fulfill his dreams. The Lord tested Joseph's character. What? What you made of? What you made of? That's what happened. And I want to tell you something. Sometimes we try to make sense. His brothers betrayed him. Then we see that when he was thrown in prison, he was forgotten, and they didn't go before the king and tell him that, man, this guy knows how to do dreams. He knows how to tell and interpret a dream. I mean, he was forgotten. He was accused by Potiphar's wife of raping her, and knowing that didn't happen. I'm telling you, so many things happened that was against the promise of God and the prophetic word that was spoken over him. How many times has God given you a promise and it went crazy? It was haywire. It was everything but that. But you know what? Sometimes we try to sit there and make sense of the betrayal. We try to figure it out. We try to sit there and say, how could you have done that to me? Because I loved you. I fed you. I took care of you. I washed your clothes. I helped pay the bills. I mean, I done everything I could to take care of you. Let me tell you, I'm going to tell you of a story that we all know about. Jesus was sitting at the table, and they were eating their last supper, and Judas was sitting there with them, drinking his wine, eating the food, sitting there fellowshipping as if everything was going on. And then there, all of a sudden, he betrays Jesus before he was to be crucified, sold him out cheap, sold him out for 30 pieces of silver. Now, He saw Jesus heal the sick. He saw Jesus cast out devils. He saw Jesus at his best. He knew that Jesus loved him. He cared for him. He let him hang with him. And then Judas betrayed him. And there he is across the table. And Jesus says, what you do, you must do quickly. Because Jesus knew the end of the story. You betray me, that's okay. You sell me out, that's okay. They're going to crucify me and kill me, but on the third day, hallelujah, I'm going to rise again. I'm going to come out with more power than I ever have, and I'm going to sit by the right hand of the Father, and I'm sending the Holy Ghost to come and comfort, lead, and guide my people. I know the end of the story, so you can betray me. You can walk out on me, but you better do it quickly, because there's a plan at the end of this. And I'm going to come out, and I'm going to come out better. So stop begging with Judas. Stop begging and pleading with your Judas. Whoever it is that's out there trying to betray you, hurt you, and mess you up. Stop trying to plead with them. Stop trying to make it right with them. Because they're going to do what they're going to do anyhow. They're going to leave you high and dry. They're going to betray you. They're going to hurt you. They're going to break your heart. But I want to tell you something. You're not going to figure out the logic behind that betrayal. You are spending so much time Joseph could have spent so much time. Why did Potiphar's wife accuse me? Why did my brothers throw me in a pit and tear up my coat of many colors? Why in the world did they forget me in prison and not go tell the king that I know how to interpret dreams? Why? You are spending so much time on the betrayal. You're spending so much time on who hurt you that you can't move on. If you can't move on, what would have happened if Joseph hadn't moved on? Let's finish this story. It says, Pharaoh sent, it says, until the time of the word, his dreams, the Lord tested Joseph's character. And then Pharaoh sent for him and set him free. The ruler of the nations opened the prison doors. Joseph was put in charge of all the king's household. He became ruler over all of the king's possessions. And he could instruct the king's aides as he pleased and teach the king's advisors. Oh my goodness, he was exalted. He was elevated. He was elevated. And I want to tell you something. You know what? He could have gotten so mad, so upset, and said, oh, you boys failed me. You lied on me, woman. Everything that happened messed me up. You know what? I want to tell you something. You can be so messed up in bitterness or unforgiveness or hatred that you will attempt to keep out all the wrong people because you've been hurt. You'll keep out all the wrong people and trying to keep them away and not get hurt again. You'll keep out the right people. He could have said, I don't trust you, I don't trust you, and I don't trust you. And then to the king, I don't even trust you. You're pulling me out for what? To hurt me again and throw me back in prison? And if he'd have done that, him attempting to keep out all the wrong people around him, he would have hurt himself by keeping out the right people. Are you doing that? Are you setting up walls all around you that if you've gotten hurt and someone has broke your heart and someone has lied on you, someone has gossiped on you, slandered your name, messing up your integrity, are you trying to keep out everybody? Because that one person done that to you, and then in the attempt of tearing out everybody, not trusting anybody, you're messing up because you're going to mess up with the right person. And attempt for that right person not to come in and change your life. It can change your life. Wow, how did we get there? Anyway, listen, you have a wonderful day. We're going to stop right there. I think we've said enough today. God bless you. You have a wonderful day. And listen, don't work too hard. Enjoy life. God bless you.